Meanwhile, French newspaper L'Equipe yesterday ran the headline, "A domination that raises questions," in reference to Pogačar's performance and those massive power numbers, especially on Sunday's stage, which Pogačar himself has said were his best ever. So his ascent of Plateau de Bay was 3 minutes and 40 seconds faster than Marco Pantani's record set almost 30 years ago, and Pogačar apparently rode it at an estimated 7 watts per kilo. So, who wants to dive into this one?
Well, I guess, Ed, you know surely lots about climbing and watts per kilo on climbs. Is 7 watts per kilo for 40 minutes or whatever it was bonkers?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll move on.
yeah, it is. When I first saw it, it was. I've got some experience of doing 7 watts per kilo for a little bit longer than most people, I think. My max being maybe nearly 15 minutes. But even that was on like the greatest day I've ever had. Very fresh and completely peaking. When you put it into context, like what they're achieving, you know, at the end of the race, and obviously they're very well trained for this. It's what they train for. But still, it blew my mind when I first saw it.
The thing is, he is not the only one to have beat Pantani's record, is he?
No, he's not. No, there's quite a few of them in that top 10 leaderboard of the fastest climbing times up there. And of course, Remco, Jonas and himself are the top 3 now, with Pantani now in 4th.
Do you think that you can really compare these numbers? Is it like comparing apples to oranges in the sense that the training regime, the equipment available, the nutrition, all of that surely is miles apart?
Yeah.
It feels sensationalist to compare. I understand why they're comparing, and I feel like I understand the subtext of why those comparisons have been made in terms of whether it's clean sport or not. I think that we on this podcast have been quite skeptical, and we have an open skepticism generally, not targeted to one person. But can you really compare these?
Well, my opinion is you can't, in any sport, I don't think you can ever compare eras at all. But also, like, you know, talk about improvement over the eras. To use an example that maybe most people have noticed, look at the trickle-down effect from, you know, the pro riders from 5-10 years ago. You look at amateur cyclists now doing local time trials, or even just, you know, club cyclists who are investing more in their passion, their hobby. They're spending a lot more money on their equipment and their kit, and it's just a massive trickle-down effect. And now the average amateur is almost just as fast as a top pro was, you know, 10, 15 years ago. So I think everything's just come on from that angle, yeah.
I think, obviously, the elephant in the room is, are they doping? Are they not doping? I am not going to speculate. I'm going to assume that the appropriate testing is being done on all of the people. Like, we know whoever's in yellow gets tested every single day and all of that kind of stuff. If someone ends up getting busted in the future, I'll worry about it then. But I'm going to assume that there is an equal and fair playing field for everyone out there.
We would love to think it's so. L'Equipe also a right little stirrers, aren't they?
Yes.
They love it. They love a headline like this. They did the same thing with Jonas last year.
But I think, you know, Ed's hit the nail on the head for me, or my opinion of it. If you look at Pantani's setup 30 years ago in comparison to what pros are riding now, it's a different world. It's a completely and utterly different world. And you can look at any other sector or nearly industry about what they're doing now versus 30 years ago, and it's just like a different world. Like cameras, phones, cars, like computers, everything that we do, you can't compare now to what was happening 30 years ago. It's not the same world. What would be interesting is, well, you know, we can't put Pantani on a modern setup, but we could. It would be really interesting to get someone like Ed to do like your best on a climb, or maybe under your best, so you can actually sit on like a set wattage. Say it's a climb that you can comfortably ride 5 watts per kilo on, and you do it in full modern setup, skin suits, all of the works, the stuff that you would ride on the National Hill Climb, and then do the exact same thing again on a 30-year-old setup. I like perfect 30-year-old setup, same gearing, same tires, like the works. And it would be really, I think that'd be really interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's do it, Ed. We're getting you back up here.
I think we should definitely do that. We just need to now have a chat with some bike manufacturers to try and loan a 30-year-old Grand Tour quality bike.